Here we are. We're in downtown Reykjavik. I'll be taking 6 awesome guests on basically just a 24-hour kind of exploration of my favorite food, culture, places, hot springs, glaciers, and pretty much everything you can get your hands into on a chilly November month in Iceland. Okay. We're gonna go pick up Emmett straight from the markets of Istanbul. What's up, buddy?
Are you Chris Burkard?
I am, the one and only. Let's go. Let's do this.
Let's go on an adventure.
Dude,
Hell
straight
yeah.
from the markets of Istanbul to Iceland.
Oh, it's chilly
Good
up
to see
there.
you, my man. I know, you look severely underdressed.
I am. I was planning on going to the Middle East this trip.
Yeah, and some jerk just convinced you to switch those plans and come all the way here. It's funny because I'm like the worst at podcasts because I just like break straight into conversation and I forget that like maybe people who are watching this
Don't want to
might
hear
not.
about Turkey.
Well, no,
the
they
entire
might
time.
not know who you are, and they may not know who I am. So it's kind of like maybe I should start by saying like,
A little intro.
who is Emmett Sparling? And
My name is Emmett Sparling. I'm a travel photographer and videographer based out of Vancouver, Canada. Been traveling full time for probably around 5 years now.
yeah,
Just full freelance mode, just run and gun, doing as much as I can, kind of just trying to create the most meaningful work possible while I travel the world and tell stories while I do it. So
hell yeah, love that.
I don't know.
This is so interesting because I remember when we met, you talked about freediving, and you're from obviously Vancouver, free dove kind of all over Vancouver Island, that whole zone. And oddly enough, what we're doing today is we're freediving the Sulphur Crack, which is rad. I've done it many times. It's kind of its own unique experience because I think that for somebody like you who really appreciates freediving, who can do it, like you're gonna love it. It's cool. You're also between the Eurasian and North American plate, which I think makes it really interesting. It's in a national park called Thingvellir. And
Can you
it's
say that again?
yeah, Thingvellir. My Icelandic is terrible. I can almost enunciate some words. Sometimes people get in the water and they feel a little like almost like afraid of heights because it's so clear.
Wow.
You look down and you're like, am I underwater? Am I above water?
That's
It's kind of
cool.
spooky because you feel like you could just drop into this cavern, and you can't really see the bottom, but you know it's deep, and it's a cool experience.
Sick. I'm excited.
But we're gonna get cold. We're gonna burn some calories. I pretty much start every day in Iceland trip with like one epic pastry from Brewed & Co. So we're here now.
Let's do it.
Hi. Can I get
Say it in Icelandic.
a raspberry and then one of these wienerbröds? And yes. Pastry lord.
Locked and loaded.
So we're currently kind of leaving like the Metropolis Center. We're heading out to this it's sort of like the pseudo highlands. Like we're kind of heading into this little plateau, the inland section of Thingvellir National Park, and it's crazy how quickly the landscape changes here. You'll be on this coastal area where there's no snow and there's steam everywhere, and all of a sudden you just you head inland for a couple miles, and it's like totally different landscape.
Yeah, I love landing places in the middle of the night because you don't see anything, and then I had no idea there's mountains.
Yeah.
And well, obviously there's mountains in Iceland, but you can't even see it at all when you land. It's like, what time is it? 9:50.
Yeah.
So I guess the sun just came up.
So it just came up, and it's tucked behind some really dark clouds. And that's the crack right there. That's where we're going in.
Wow.
That's the fissure. It is rad.
Into the crack.
Into the crack.
was fun.
Dude, that was sick.
That was beautiful.
That's pretty rad, huh?
Yeah, spring water like that is so cool to dive in because it feels like you're floating.
It's a trip that, like, the moment you put your head down, you're kind of like, whoa, like right above the surface. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
You can kind of see like that it's clear and there's some rocks, but you dip your head down immediately and you're like, it's like 100 feet deep.
Yeah, it goes down like 45 meters.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's funny, I did not expect to be freediving when I went to Iceland.
Well, that's what I was so stoked about. Is I was like, man, what could I do, or what could I try to plan that would maybe like blow his mind just a little bit, in terms of like, getting off the plane and basically going to do something. And I don't know, it's pretty rad.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy shooting the most? Like, if you could choose and you could kind of, you personally,
like, if I could only shoot one type of photography for the rest of my life,
yeah,
it would be portraits of locals around the world.
Huh.
Like portrait photography.
Where kind of spawned that? Like that desire?
I started my photography career in fashion, and I spent a couple years shooting fashion photography.
Wow.
In Vancouver. And so as soon as I went traveling and just kind of started taking travel photos, that's kind of when I was like, this is way more fun, because the techniques I learned shooting portraits in the fashion industry, I've translated that to shooting more authentic, kind of raw feeling portraits. I started doing portraits while I traveled, just because it's really fun to kind of mix things up. I think the thing that really makes me stoked is like sitting down with someone, having a conversation, and then taking their photo, and then you have a much deeper story behind it.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's something I wanted to ask you about, because I always knew you as just a photographer, but I didn't fully realize that filmmaking was really like your number one passion, your number one kind of career focus, until we met and you were showing me some of the projects you had made. And yeah, I mean, and you showed me the most recent one, I believe, which was about the time capsule of the recordings, right? What was that?
Voyager.
Voyager. It was super powerful, and there was this line that you had said at the end of it. You said, anything that has a purpose isn't lost. And I think that's like really profound, and I just want to know, like, where did that inspiration come from? Maybe like give us a background to the project, and I don't know, I'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, well, so the short film was about the Voyager records that basically NASA put these gold records, like a record player record, but made of gold.
DJ set,
on these satellites that they sent out into, I think one was going to Saturn, the other one was going to Jupiter.
Wow.
And once they finished their missions, they just redirected them off into deep space and basically just sent them out of the solar system. And so the records basically hold all the most beautiful sounds on Earth. It's a very romantic story, very cool idea. So
and to think that we like invested time into just putting that out there, it's like beautiful. It's kind of a testament to, like, I don't know, humanity in a way, right?
It took a lot of effort to make, but it's a passion project, so it's got no deadline. You can just do it whenever you have free time, and you're almost more motivated to do it because it's your little baby, basically.
And what does a passion project mean to you, like, in terms of how would you define that?
You know, that feeling that drives you to go out and shoot sunrise. And that feeling that makes you tick, basically. That passion is something that often gets lost when you're working as a photographer, and you're just constantly doing client work and stuff like that. And I find doing these projects where you're fully in charge and it's something that makes you tick, or something that makes you motivated to get out and do something.
It's hard to find motivation, and I think that if you define that purpose, it helps me, at least in some way, to kind of feel refueled, recharged, re-energized.
Was there one thing in particular that made you fall in love with Iceland, or is there everything?
I mean, that's like the question of the hour of the year. I think.
Like what keeps you coming back?
You know, it's funny. I think that when I consider a place, at first we're drawn to a place mainly because we see photos of it, or we see other people's experiences. We read a book, we see a film. It's one of those things that draws us in, right? And then I think what happens is you start to cultivate and have experiences yourself that become more meaningful than just like taking photos or collecting stamps in your passport. And that's kind of what Iceland became for me. Like, I started to realize that there were these environmental initiatives I wanted to get behind, advocating for glacial rivers. There were these, stories beyond just finding good surf, right? And mostly it was the people. Like, I met friends that had these really compelling stories, and I kind of, I don't know, I found like a sense of who I was within that community. I think that's a big part of why I wanted to bring people here, was like, I didn't really want, again, just to bring people here to like see, the big game, right? Like go,
tourist
yeah,
spots.
like Skoga, you can see so much of that, on your own. And for me, what makes a place special is like the food you eat, the people you meet, like, just kind of being able to experience something, maybe even without the camera, which is where I've fostered so many of my favorite experiences. Like, again, being able to dive in the Silver Crack. And I think a big part of it is like, nowadays in places like this, this idea of like, oh, what can you do from a day? Like, this is basically your first day here. You arrived, this morning. It's like, what could you experience in a day? It's not about trying to like take off as many miles as you can. It's about trying to foster maybe just one even like meaningful experience.
So
we need to get you some actual gear. You need to get kitted out.
Freeze my buns off.
Yeah, because you are you're basically like frosted tips right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna swing downtown. We'll drop by 66. We'll grab you like a parka and some other stuff.
Amazing.
Let's hit it. Let's get some food.
Hell yeah.
Give me a little twirl. You're actually gonna be warm now.
Actually gonna be cozy.
That was so sick. I'm gonna miss you, man.
Bringing me on that adventure.
Yeah, dude.
Randomly inviting me to Iceland.
I know, it was a quick one. It was only
fun.
24 hours, but I think we made the most of it.
Absolutely.
Um,
It was far less than 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
It gets dark in about 3 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah. Cheers,
See you
man.
around.
Hey, enjoy the warmth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My new jacket.
See you, buddy. You.